Good day. Based on previous videos' feedback, albeit hardcore, a lot of viewers demand a guide for a build explanation and the dungeon strategy itself, how to do it, what bosses can one kill, what IP, etc. In this video, I would like to explain the build, compare it to Hellion jacket build, and show the example of dungeon gameplay with all the thought processing during dungeoneering. The build is Soldier Helmet, Cultist Robe, Cleric Sandals, Nature Staff, Crypt Candle, Thetford Cape, and Omelets as food. The main idea of the build is to do as much damage as possible in the shortest period of time. But what happens if you don't have enough damage? And monster will out DPS you? Well, then we exploit the main weakness of the mob, the cooldown. You see, unlike us players, mobs are forced to cast skills under specific conditions once the ability off cooldown. But what mob does in between casts? Right, auto attacks. And unlike abilities, auto attacks are unavoidable. So this is why we have Soldier Helmet and Cleric Sandals. Both offer an iframe, which gives an extra time for the mob to do an attack and start casting again. If the enemy is non-boss melee, you can also root it with Nature Staff, which allows you to outweigh their cooldowns and do some more damage. We also have Interrupt on W, but one shouldn't use it against mobs when they cast an ability, unless it's a targeted one. Speaking of the bosses, with good skill and IP, you should be able to kill most of them. The exception are Athos, Earth Daughter of any tier, and Earth Aspirant. The sketchy ones, Demon Prince, Morgana's 5th floor, Reaper, Undead's 5th floor. The rest of the enemies shouldn't be that much of a threat as long as you play the build correctly. Remember, underutilizing the build may have an outcome of high repair build. Now, let's compare it to the most famous Hellion Druid build. The build allows you to heal from jacket to full if you have multiple mobs nearby. Twice. So unlike Cloth, this one has insane survivability. You're not as dependent as well-used iframe. This makes a lower skill floor, which is much easier to pick up and play. You can also pull bigger mob packs, which is also good if you're doing static dungeons. The problem with the build is lower damage output and higher cost across the tiers. I don't like stealth gameplay Hellion Druid offers. I prefer high risk, high reward gameplay. But this choice is on you. Now let's jump straight into the dungeon. I tried to find the basic scenarios which could help you see the idea. So this is tier 6 dungeon in 13 to 1400 IP. Once you step into the dungeon, you start scouting for a good chest. I introduced the counter, which counts amount of mobs aggro. Notice, it is currently on 0 because lesser mobs don't count. But if small mob in group with big one, then everyone counts. This is common chest, not worth the time. Skip. Yet another common. Skip. This is uncommon final chest with rather long dungeon floor. Not worth the time. Let's try another one. If you can, always try to avoid activating the mobs. You want to do it as fast as possible. The mob counter is individual for each floor, so you start from 0 every other floor. here is blink technique being used. This is the final uncommon chest, but we only need to kill a few mobs, so why not? Let's do it. Always be careful with Morgana tomes. They can be shadow aggroed by big mobs around them, and you won't even notice that. Also, if you happen to aggro a tome, just clear all of them. Your weapon is ranged, and you want to use it. Always try to kite your enemy so you're not taking an extra hit. The boss itself is rather simple, but if you don't have an experience with any specific boss, just try to DPS through with Revitalize to see what boss really does. It's all about experience there. And there it is. As you can see, the math is correct, and the dungeon is finished, chest is open. I see you have a lot of questions on this topic, like, what if I find a good chest with the boss I can't kill? What if someone dives me? What IP should I have? Well, if there's a boss you can't kill, just call friends, there's nothing else I can help with. If someone dives you, it's mostly on you, since you can only either fight back or try to somehow get out of the sticky situation. And for the AP, once again, it's on you. But for comfortable tier 6, bring at least 1500, okay? I hope I answered all the most common questions, but if you happen to have more, feel free to ask, I'm here to help. Thanks for watching.